Hi, my name is Minju, and I am in online section WD, and I will be presenting my second speech on the impacts of white-tailed deer overpopulation. So imagine you're in a forest and it has just freshly snowed. There is a herd of deer just grazing on the grass. It feels incredibly majestic, it's beautiful, it's incredibly peaceful. It feels unique, yet incredibly familiar. This is because deer populations are on the rise all over the US. So just to give some background about white-tailed deer, they are actually native to the US. They are most populous in the northern regions and just incredibly overabundant in general. And because they are overabundant and have extended past their native range, they are considered invasive by wildlife biologists. And so some topics of discussion for this speech are the causes of deer overpopulation, the impacts of deer overpopulation on humans and the environment, as well as some solutions. So there's two primary causes of deer overabundance, and they are both caused by increased human activity. And so human-caused habitat destruction in increasing land use has decreased deer territory as humans destroy wildlife and forests, and also deer as humans have destroyed this territory, have increased the border between forest and the flat land, and deer are famously known to enjoy edge plant species, so they have increased food access. And so typically when animals are given the opportunity of more food and more opportunities to meet members within their own species, the populations increase. And then a second cause is that there are an absence of predators. And so with increased human presence, large animals such as wolves, mountain lions, alligators, there just is no natural form of population control for these deer. And so what are the impacts of deer overpopulation? And so they have impacts on forests, and so deer are known as opportunistic eaters. They will forage on many plants, but also eat dead animals if given the chance and are put into a situation. And so with their ability to just completely decimate forests and eating native and non-native animals, they will degrade forests, and which leads to soil degradation and erosion of soil near bodies of water, and then this affects water quality down the line. And so with forests being incredibly impacted, there are downstream effects, and so this impacts food chains where the plants, if plants are eliminated, then the animals downstream can have a difficult time rebounding. And so this leads to the disappearance of native animals, such as birds, to that particular region, and birds having many global impacts, such as being pollinators, being food for other animals. This is not great. And then because these animals cannot come back, other invasive animals can overtake forests and just completely change habitats. And so you may be thinking, like, how does this impact me? How do deer being overabundant have an impact on my life? And so deer also have incredible human health impacts, or deer overpopulation has incredible human health impacts. They are major factors of increased disease transmission. So deer are known carriers of Lyme disease. They carry ticks that can cause allergic reactions in humans to red meat, as well as transmit prions that are misfolded proteins and can cause muscle and neurodegenerative conditions and are almost always fatal. This leads to increased healthcare costs, as well as increased health insurance, and then with deer overpopulation, just more presence of deer in suburbs and roads in general. And this leads to increased vehicle collisions. And so with deer populations having impacts on health, this also consequently has impacts on the economy. And so more deer, vehicle collisions can also lead to increased auto insurance costs. And then, as discussed earlier, deer are notorious for just completely destroying forests, and so this impacts lumber production and yield, as well as agricultural production and yield, which then downstream can have effects on food costs and increasing cost of living. And so wildlife biologists have many solutions, but they are categorized into short-term and long-term solutions. Short-term solutions are so the first is regulating by hunting and culling, and so game wardens at national parks, state parks will legalize deer hunting during certain seasons to allow for natural or being in the place of predators, as well as will install barriers and fencing in certain areas to not only keep deer into their areas that they should stay in, but also keeping them out of protected areas. And some long-term solutions are habitat management, so managing the habitats that the deer are present in so that they don't have a reason to sort of leave their territory in the range, as well as sterilization. So there is actually birth control for deer, as well as they allowed hunting of male deer, of bucks, because males tend to be the deciding factor of population increase. So some takeaways for my speech are that human activity has definitely caused deer overpopulation, and to reciprocate, deer have also had major impacts on ecosystems and human health and economies, and the economy. And wildlife biologists are continuing to act solutions. And so if you want to participate in sort of tracking deer and maintaining populations in general, you can visit zooniverse.com, which is a site where you can practice like citizen science. So wildlife biologists will upload motion-induced camera trap pictures, and this doesn't include just deer, but like any animals around the world, and you can just click on, just identify which animals, and this helps a lot with science. And so